Hey guys, this is Marc Owings, and I'm your host for the Unbridled Life Podcast, where we have real, raw, and unreligious conversation to encourage and challenge men and women in their daily lives. Well, welcome to the Unbridled Life Podcast, where we keep it real, raw, and unreligious. I've got two beautiful sisters in the faith, two cool ladies, Shawna.
I'm going to hang a disco ball in this room one of these days.
I've got to get lights that do that.
Yes, yeah.
And then I've got Kimmy.
Yay! One of my favorite people in the whole wide world. We love this girl.
Yeah,
oh, my gosh.
I not only love them, I walk with their husbands, got a lot of history with them, great community that we're all in, so it's super fun. And we're going to be talking about communication and connection. And we're not talking about specifically in marriage. We're going to draw this to a certain place, so you want to stay tuned because there's some incredible testimonies that go along with this that will encourage you, that promotes the name of Jesus and connects you to a revelation that'll help you in your spiritual walk. So we're gonna be talking a little bit, but Shawna, you're married to Kyle.
My king. I call him my king.
I call him Rain Man because the dude can spit information out.
He is brilliant.
Crazy. He is brilliant.
Yeah.
And then you're married to Jason Hoffman, who
may have the best hair on the planet.
Oh,
that's
it's
what
pretty
I was
good.
going to say.
Yeah, you are. Oh, sorry, I stole your.
Oh my God!
It's the best hair ever.
When we go do events, this is TMI. But Jason and I, many times on an event, they've got one bed, and Jason and me are always snuggle buddies. Because we're both not homophobes at all. And we've had friends walk in and we're snuggling. I totally dead asleep. And they're like, dude, that grosses me out. And I was like, I slept like a baby. And Jason's like, I did too. But he's got this King David hair and just great. So y'all are both married. Kimmy, how long have you been married to Jason?
25 years.
25 years? Yes. And you've been married?
Oh my gosh, 29 years this month. It's a big deal.
29.
It's a big deal.
I've been married to Leslie for 31 years.
Wow.
We're coming up on another anniversary this September, so it's really cool. So let's apply communication and connection, and let's keep it PG on the connection.
Of course.
But talk to me. Shawna, how do you love your man? How do you do it through mental telepathy? How do you love your man?
Well, you know what? It's a great question because early in our marriage, I grabbed hold of this phrase of becoming a student of his soul. Because what I learned very, very quick in marriage was Kyle didn't necessarily receive love the way I receive love. And we took this very easy but yet very profound little quiz called the 5 Love Languages.
Yes.
I know a lot of people have heard it, but I learned really quick that Kyle receives love through service and through words of affirmation and physical touch. I receive love through quality time. So I don't really need you touching me. I like a gift every once in a while. But the bottom line was I began to study my man, and I began to try to love and communicate and connect with him in ways that meant the most to him. So
it's awesome. So what I heard is you study your man's soul so that you can communicate and connect with him.
Yes.
And then Miss Kimmy, I always call her Kimmy. And Kimmy, how do you communicate and connect with Jason?
So we did the same thing. We did the questions a long time ago when we got married. And my love language is touch, and so I touch him a lot, but that's I would say it's probably up there for him, but that's not really what's feeding his love bank. We're not filling up his love bank with
what fills up his love bank?
So what does is words of affirmation and gifts. So he does love gifts.
Oh, that surprises me about Jason Hoffman. Okay, who knew?
He's an easy one for me to target. I love giving gifts. So I think mine is touch and words. I love when Leslie was praying over us before the podcast, and she slid her hand down my back off my head, and I grabbed her hand, put it back on my head. I love when Leslie puts her hands on me.
Yeah.
Just the touch from her brings a peace.
Well, Leslie carries like a deep shalom peace, and like her touch does. I mean, it literally can transfer right into your being. She settled all of us down.
Yeah, she is. She's like, I hate to say this, she's like a good hit of weed.
Oh my gosh, Marky.
But spiritually,
we did say we were unreligious around here.
But she just carries that.
Yes, she does.
You know, why smoke pot when you got Leslie? You know, she is my little pot plant.
Come on over, girl.
Leslie's is proximity and not words. Proximity and silence. She recharges through that.
Yeah.
So I want to tie this all up. So as you think about what we're fixing to talk about, we need to think about three things. We need to think about how we relate to God, how we relate to ourselves, and how we relate to others in communication and connection, which ends up landing us on our topic, which is about prayer.
Yes.
So, Shawna, I'm just going to pitch you the
Just
ball.
pitch it right on over. I love prayer. I have, thinking about this podcast and preparing, I mean, I have talked to God freely, openly. It's just been something that I've never struggled with. Call me simple-minded, but I'm like, if he's God, he knows everything about us anyway. Why would we? But I also know what it feels like to feel like you got to cover yourself in the fig leaves of shame and, oh gosh. But anyway, I thought I'd start with a few, because I've got some deep testimonies in prayer, but I thought we'd start with a few fun ones and then just kind of go around, because I feel like for the listeners, I want you to know you cannot mess this up.
No.
You cannot. Oh, I just felt a little.
Good.
He
Yes.
liked that I said that. He longs to talk to his kids. And so I think the only way you can mess it up is by not praying at all. Prayerlessness. That's what grieves me, is the times where I thought, oh my gosh, how much have I talked about this, but not really gone into prayer. But just a couple little testimonies when I very, very first started really walking with the Lord. I mean, I got saved at 8, but at 20 was really where I dove back in. And Kyle and I don't even know how we ended up at this prayer meeting, but we ended up in an apartment. We didn't even know at the time it was a group of much more charismatic people. And we did this little Bible study, and then they were like, okay, now we're going to pray. So in my mindset I was at the Baptist church at the time. I thought that meant like 5 minutes, wrap it up, and we're going. Y'all, we prayed for like an hour and a half.
What?
And I was going, what is happening? But you guys, that prayer meeting lit a fire in me, because what I learned was Jesus is a lover, and he likes to let you lean back and take a minute. Anyway, I began to prophesy. I didn't even know what prophecy was, but I began to get downloads in that prayer meeting, and that was just a real lighting my fire moment of prayer.
I love it, because you talked about, and we talked about, all kinds of just our love languages, but God's got a love language too.
He does.
So he carries all of those. Yeah. And one of the facets is just communication. Sometimes we talk about prayer like it's
right.
Yes.
Latin or something, but or ultra charismatic, But whatever it is God likes to talk.
Yes.
And think about this. We love talking to our friends. We love texting them. We love communicating with them. We just all went out together the other night celebrating one of our friends. And we talked for hours.
Yeah.
But when it comes to prayer, it seems like a butt drag.
And we get into this weird mode. Like, he likes just to talk, just like you would a friend. He likes the honesty and the authenticity.
I love it. So, Kimmy, give us a testimony that you got.
Yeah, I have a testimony, but I want to say words are so important. I love words. And so when you break down the word prayer, it's a communication with God, right? That's essentially the definition of it. If you break down communication, it's commune. And then if you take commune is actually exchange. So I think one of the things that I love about prayer is it's oftentimes thought of like, I have to come to this God and cast my prayers up.
Right.
Maybe he'll catch them and he's listening, right?
Or maybe not.
Or maybe not, right? Like, I'm just whatever, I'm going to wing it. And I mean, we know that that's not the case, but there's an exchange. So even if I come in and sit with the Father, he's giving. He's an outgiving, outward God. There's no way in an exchange. That means something is happening between the two of us. It's not just me. I'm not the one just talking. He's probably waiting. My husband says, he's like, what did the Lord say? And I'm like, oh, I forgot to listen sometimes,
That's a good point.
So sit and listen. It's an exchange. He has something to say
That
or give.
is,
Maybe he, like you said with Leslie, maybe I sit with him and it's shalom peace. It's a perfect peace that makes no sense to this world, but he has something to give me when I just come and say, I just want to communicate. I want to exchange with you, Lord. So anyways,
it's beautiful.
The words.
Love it.
It's
good.
Love it. So mine's not a funny testimony, but mine is actually, the testimony I really want to share came through healing. We had a friend that was going through Todd White's school, and they were practicing. They were learning to practice to pray in their prayer language, and that was new and foreign to me and to us. And I just learned and heard Pastor Morris kind of speak on that in some teachings, and so I was just these little drops where the Lord was teaching me. And so one of the things he said to do was just try to discipline yourself. Just try it. Like, and in discipline, I mean, like I'm saying, okay, each morning I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to remember.
Practicing.
I'm just practicing. Yeah. I'm lifting a new muscle. I'm going to practice. So I was doing that. And it just so happens in this season, I think we were CrossFitting at the time, and I had injured my shoulder and, hadn't been to the doctor, but I was in pain for months, like so much so that I would wake up in the night, couldn't sleep, like couldn't move my arm. I couldn't lift my hand above, my head. Anyway, so I get up in the morning to practice, and I'd done this probably for maybe a week and a half. And I get up this particular morning, and I get up and I'm just praying in the Spirit. I'm talking to the Lord, like, Lord, I'm just trying this. I'm praying in the Spirit, and I felt the hair of the Lord. His hair came across my shoulder as I was praying in the Spirit. Like, I knew that is what happened. And it came across my shoulder. Well, I didn't know it at the time. I didn't think to myself, my shoulder doesn't hurt right then. But I was healed. Like and what that told me was, even in those moments where I'm like, I don't even know how to do, Lord, what am I even doing? Yeah. But I believe you are sitting here and you're listening to me. I believe that I know that. Yeah. But the rest of it, I don't really know about. But you came in and in my prayer language, when I didn't even know what to pray for, and you healed me with your, like, it's just, I'll never forget it. It's like, I can just see the hair right now.
He doesn't mind getting really close. He likes to get right on up in our personal space. Good. Oh my gosh, I love that.
And I think all of our personalities enjoy that. We're presence people. And we love being with it. I was sitting there thinking when you were sharing that, number one, I just wanted to scream and go, woo!
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Cool. Because it doesn't come off as weird and wacky, but you go and sit with Daddy. Yes. I have a daughter, and I remember when she was little, brings tears to my eyes. I think she'd scrape her knee.
Yeah.
I don't have hair. I wish I did in the Spirit. It's long. It's got
I had a dream. Remember, you had a mullet.
A mullet.
In the Spirit, you got hair.
Yeah, right now it'd just be patchy.
I'll see it.
But if I did and I bent over to care for her, my hair would brush her.
That's so beautiful.
And so that points out that the Lord does touch us. One of the love languages that some of us shared is touch.
Absolutely.
And the Lord touches us. If you go study out in the Bible, just go look up the hand of the Lord, the arm of the Lord. But specifically, the hand of the Lord was upon someone, and the Lord touched them. It's all through the Bible in many different forms, adjectives, verbs, in the way that's laid out in the context of Scripture.
Yeah.
But it's foreign to us, and maybe you're listening to this and you just heard Kim, you're like he would really touch and heal me?
Yeah.
Absolutely. There are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of moments and testimonies where people were healed. I remember one guy, I think his name was Dwayne, I probably got it wrong, Baptist preacher, doesn't really believe in healing, and his vocal cords had been shredded.
Yes. Wow.
And y'all have all probably heard this.
Maybe. Yeah. Keep telling.
And if I can find that, I'd love to play that, make that available. But he is reading a passage. And when I say the Baptist church, I'm not against the Baptists. I'm just saying we all have our lanes of belief, right? And sometimes God just cracks up and just spills over. Well, he's reading Psalms 103, and he was reading like this. And he said, and the Lord heals all of my diseases.
Come on,
and you
Jesus.
can, in his voice, he's just like, I don't know.
They have this on. I think this
on audio.
is
You could
audio.
probably
You can
look
it
it
up.
up. Man's vocal cord is healed, and there's no show, there's no prompt. But I remember hearing that probably in my late 20s, maybe early 30s.
So
just
good.
blown away, like, wow.
Yeah.
He wasn't even asking; he was teaching about prayer.
Yeah.
And God was just like, kind of one of those wink at you moments where God touches you like the hair brushes against you. So I love it, Kimmy.
I don't think you can come into his presence and not get touched, not get healed. It's like what you said. And I'm thinking how beautiful the physical healing, but he heals your heart every time. He does things in the intimacy of his presence that you didn't even know you needed, you know? So he's so good like that, and he's so kind.
It's funny. I want to tell you, if you're listening to this, I wrote this. The quieter you get, the more you listen and learn. And sometimes prayer takes a facet in communication. It's like you say what you're going to say to him, and you just begin to sit and listen. And what I mean by learn is the revelation, the touch, the comfort that comes. Remember, this is the God of all comfort. God comforts us in our pain and our suffering. He rejoices with us when we rejoice. He celebrates the things, the small, the medium, and the big. So sometimes, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. That's kind of a cue, especially for this cat, that sometimes I just got to listen and learn the love of God. That is the love language of God.
Can I jump in?
100%.
I have another testimony. And also, I think we're going to do another podcast that really kind of drills down on a little more of practicals and what we have found. But it made me think, I have goosebumps. Oh, Lord, I love him. He could bring me to tears.
I'm going to get a goosebump.
I know. I need you. But it made me think, because he reminded me of this story in 1 Kings 19. And I won't go through the whole story, but it starts in verse 9, but in verse 12. And after the earthquake, there was a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, there was a sound of a gentle whisper. And it's like you said, boy, I've been in prayer meetings where there was fire and there was earthquakes, and I love all the passion. But the gentle whisper of the Lord.
And I want to get a shout out to the Baptist church. Sometimes it's gentle
the quiet,
whisper that has been provided, the table that has been set by the variety of churches sets up for the gentle
it's beautiful,
whisper.
isn't it? Yeah.
Some of the greatest worship I've seen is not someone just crazy dancing. It's just someone sitting down, and you can see they're in a posture to receive from the Lord, and that is prayer.
Yes. And it's the little ladies. I was thinking about how many intercessors I've met throughout the years who you'll never know their names. Yeah. You'll never see them on a platform. But let me tell you what, they are in their prayer closets, moving mountains. And one time when I was first learning about prayer, I thought about this, y'all. If you don't think the Lord has a sense of humor. So I was learning about prayer, just growing, but also trying to be newly married with my husband, learning how to communicate. And we were fighting. I mean, and I was a good fighter. Like, I was really good at this. And I was learning, though, how we were literally in counseling at the time, and I was learning how to not spew my venom on my husband, but take it to the Lord. So I'm literally with the Lord, I'm praying, and we're bantering. I'm like, Lord, and I'm feeling the Lord, speak right back. And all of a sudden I thought, and I said out loud, Lord, if this is you talking to me, why do I hear my own voice? And do you know what he said to me, y'all? And this is how you know it's the Lord, because it comes lightning fast. He said, because sometimes you're the only one you'll listen to.
Little correction.
Whoa. But it made me laugh. because I
Wow,
knew it
that's
was true.
so good.
So if you're hearing your own voice, it's okay. He can speak to us however he wants.
I think that
Wow,
there's a
Shawna.
tone and texture, although I'm hearing it in my head, but I love it too because part of prayer is correction. And we live in a society that's like, dude, you ain't correcting me.
Right.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Well, you don't understand the nature and character of God is love.
love.
And when God corrects you, he is showing your value. And he always does it with love. You started laughing. It's
I knew
more
he
like a
did
little-
correct me, but that's how it is,
You knew it
right?
was
He
him.
calls us up. He never condemns us. I mean, it's the truth.
Yeah, a little poke from the Lord.
Little poke. Kimmy, you've probably never. You're so kind.
No. Correction is, it comes quite often. And usually it's just like, it happened this last week. I sat down with the Lord. Someone had actually said, they'd made a comment, and it's a person that was a non-believer. So they'd made a comment. They're like, oh, well, you probably just get up and pray in the morning. And it offended me. And so then I had to go and just talk to the Lord, like, why did that, why? Like, offense is from the devil, right?
Right.
Like, why did that offend me? And I didn't want to pick that up. And so I just sat there and we talked about it. And I felt like that he was trying to say that prayer is, and my time is, it's so intimate.
Yeah.
Like, there are just times where I don't even want to step away from the moment.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I know
Like
exactly.
it's so intimate. I can't even just physically move. And so when someone said that, it was as if it was a mockery or just a misunderstanding.
Wow.
And so the correction came where the Lord was like, you get to pull heaven down. You get to bring his atmosphere to the earth. And so his heart breaks that this person would think that prayer was something that would just be that just the words that they
It's
said.
liturgical.
Yes.
It's just like, clinical.
Yeah.
But when I was hearing that, I was like, when that person said that, they made the uncommon common. They made the supernatural natural.
Yeah.
They took something so intimate. It was like a peek inside the bedroom.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you don't want anyone peeking in your bedroom when you're intimate with your
Yeah.
spouse. But they don't understand. It's that intimate to us.
Yeah. And I even heard on TV someone say, talking about Christians or praying, and they said, if you're, hearing God, you've got mental illness. They literally said that. And I thought, oh my gosh, there's nothing on earth better than to commune with the God of the universe. And he talks back.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think this is good to point out, and we'll probably talk about this in the next podcast, but I just want to point out to you, there are always three frequencies speaking.
That's good, Mark.
That's good.
God's speaking, this natural world is speaking, this fallen natural world, and then there is an enemy.
Come on.
And then we partner with one of those three. You can partner with the world all day long.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can have inappropriate relationships with food, with drink, with all kinds of things, but our thought life it changes the way we see God, ourselves, and others. So I wanted to
good.
just drive this. My testimony is one about provision, and it was tied to a dream.
Come on. Let it
sweet.
flow.
Because it's about Ellie Grace.
I know it.
She came on. If you hadn't heard her podcast, go listen to it. But we adopted this beautiful Chinese little girl, and we have so much fun. But I remember when this was happening, one of the dreams that I had is I wanted to be a good dad, and I wanted to have children. Well, we had 2 miscarriages. I'm writing about this in the dream book that I'm writing right now. But I wanted to adopt. Leslie wanted to have 2 through the natural way, and then we would do the supernatural way through adoption. And that's what I call adoption, supernatural. And so when we miscarried Journey, and then we had Tucker, and then we miscarried Emma. And I say we because we're one.
Yeah.
But Leslie turned to me and said, hey, I'm ready. Y'all, I got so freaking excited. I was beside myself. And we had $2,500 in the bank. And I remember laying in bed, and I was just like, God, you're so awesome. This dream's going to come true. I'm going to get me little China girl with beautiful skin. My mom was just dreaming.
You were already pregnant.
Yeah.
I was pregnant in my heart.
Yeah.
That's I tell the kids all the time, Tucker, you were born from your mama's tummy.
Yep.
Ellie Grace, you were born from daddy's heart.
Yes.
So heaven to earth.
Come on.
But we had a problem. This was $15,000 back then to adopt this little girl. And so I was laying in bed and I told Leslie, I know you're probably going to have a question about this because Leslie is the financial reconciler in the family. I don't touch finances at the ministry or at the personal or anything. But I just said, baby, I want to give $2,500 away as a grateful gift to the Lord. And I'll never forget, she sat up in her bed and she said, baby, you have a math problem. I said, a math problem.
That's so she good, said, though, Mark. You were sowing seed.
We're trying to get to $15,000.
And you're going the wrong direction.
And I said, sweetheart, we can't do this by ourselves.
Right.
Okay, so
somebody needs to hear that.
She went kind of to bed, miffed at me. Not miffed, mad, but she was just like, honestly, like, he has always been on the short bus with math. Bless his heart. Yeah. Maybe he'll wake up and have a revelation. Well, we woke up at about 5:30, 6 o'clock. Tucker Keaton, my little boy, comes running in my room, jumps in my bed, and says this to me, Daddy, you awake? And I was like, I am now, dude. Yeah. And he said, I'll be right back. And and the beautiful thing about being a granddad is remembering the pitter-patter of feet. Woo, if you got kids right now, I know they may be driving you crazy, but they grow up and go away.
They do.
And you are going to miss the pitter-patter.
Yes, you will.
Well, the prayer of my heart was like, Lord, just confirm this. Well, we had taught Tucker to keep this little orange cup so that he could save his coins in there, and we would give to the mission field. And at that time, I was working for James Robinson, so we were feeding kids in Africa. Yeah. And listen, great gift to give if you want to find a place to give. Life Outreach International feeds a ton of kids. But Tucker comes running in, and I can hear his little change ching, 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 in his cup, and I knew what it was. And I just looked at Leslie like, you about to get poked by the Lord. And her eyes did this, and he jumped in bed, and he said this to me. You've been a good daddy, right? I said, yes, sir. I think I have. He said, you've been a good dad. He said, open your hands. And he poured all those change in my hand. It was spilling over in my hands. And he said, Daddy, I want to give my money to you. I want to bless you, not the children in Africa. And I looked at the change, and the Lord spoke to me, and he said, do you need that little bit of change? I was like, no, sir. How?
Wow.
He said, I don't need your little bit of change, $2,500, but I'm as blessed by you as you are by him.
Yes.
And I looked at Leslie, and she goes, give it all away. So we ended up selling a house for more than what we should have been able to sell it for. Lord. God provided over and above. Not only did we have the money, we had the money to move into a new house, a bigger house in Haslett that was a dream house. So through prayer and obedience and just communicating and connecting with my wife and God, God provided a provision.
Oh, Mark.
So it was a really cool moment with the Lord. So prayer works.
Prayer works, and it does. It's, in our finite human, this is what I think is so fun with prayer. We pray and we kind of process with the Lord, and it's like A, B, C. Those are what we, I think, Lord, we could do this, and then he goes, oh, well, just hang on, girl, because I got E through Z, and he comes through in ways you could never imagine or make up or any of it. So I love that story. I got an Ellie Grace story too. How are we doing on time?
We're doing it.
I just, and I have been, and again, we'll go into more of the practical on the next, but use your words, because prayer changes the atmosphere. And I even want to encourage the church. I think we're really good at saying, hey, I'm going to pray for you. Why not just stop right then and pray right then for them, because it's so powerful. But a couple of years back, we had actually just spent New Year's Eve with y'all because we'd gone around, and
our whole family.
We did. And we all said, what was our word for the year and all that. And I believe Audrey's word was war. So this was either the next day or the next few days. Ellie Grace was in a really bad, I'm going to cry now, four-wheeler accident. And I did get her permission. She loves to tell the story because God gets so much glory from that.
She tattooed the date of that wreck.
Did.
100%.
That girl. Oh my gosh. So, I don't remember Ellie Grace's, her word, but anyway, she was in the accident, and of course, we're all praying. You guys,
she flipped a four-wheeler.
Yeah.
She was in an induced coma for 4 days.
Right.
And had a brain bleed in the head.
I mean, this was serious.
It was serious.
And I remember, of course, we were all praying, but we went up to the hospital to pray, and I think I went in there with a false confidence, because I remember walking into the room like ready. I'm sure I had my oil and my, I'm ready to pray. You guys, and Audrey was with me. My Audrey was with me. I walked into that hospital room, and the reality overwhelmed me. This little girl is in a coma. She is hooked up to all kinds of machines, the beeping, the doctors. You've been into a hospital room. There is a reality of these natural bodies.
Was she awake yet, or
she was still asleep? And I remember, I think I maybe put my hand on her little toe or something and prayed. My daughter walked up, spread herself over Ellie Grace's body. I think of the Bible story where but Audrey went and she overwhelmed the natural with the supernatural in prayer. I let the natural overwhelm me. She walked in and spread herself out and began to war for her friend. And it just marked me in that moment. A, never look down on them because they're young. Out of the mouths of babes.
Yes.
Sometimes the most powerful prayers. But B, we have the ability, it's what you said, to walk into every circumstance. You are somewhere today to bring heaven to earth.
See, I love it. You talk about many times we can walk into an atmosphere and feel the atmosphere, and that atmosphere shuts us down. What Audrey did in that moment, in that testimony, is trauma tried to introduce itself to Audrey, and Audrey was like, you need to get your butt out of my way. I came here to bring heaven to earth. And guess what? Ellie began to wake up, all the tubes, and I'm sure we'll throw pictures up here from YouTube. But it was trauma. In that moment, I was praying. I remember the first day, I will never forget this. I'm up there at night. I'm flipped, like I'm thinking I'm going to lose my daughter.
Yeah.
And I said this out of my mouth praying. Lord, thank you for such an easy test at the first of the year.
Come on.
Thank you, Lord. Wow. And literally, it was like, I was like, what you talking about, right? I was like,
that did not come out of my mouth.
Your spirit man came.
My soul moved out. My spirit was like, this is not hard for God.
Come on.
So we want to encourage you with prayer. Listen, we want you to share this with friends. One of the ways that we impact people is we share testimonies to encourage people. So share this with somebody like this. Write us a note, and if you have a prayer need, you can send it to prayer@ElevateHim.com. And our team, we have intercessors.
You're looking at two of them.
Two of them, and there's 4 of them, and they're incredible. April's one, Sarah's one, and these 2 ladies are one. And they carry, and the reason people ask me all the time is like, Mark, how come you got women? I was like, because they're good birthers. And they're birthers in the natural, and they're birthers in the spirit. And some of the greatest moves of God, maybe many or most of the movements that happened in our world came by someone getting on their knees, and many and most time those were women, and I think they're built for the frequency of releasing that. We're praying for you. We love you, and we hope you enjoyed this podcast. Listen to this. Thanks so much for listening to the Unbridled Life Podcast. We know your time is valuable, and we hope we bring real and relevant content that helps you live that unbridled life. If you want to help us spread the message, you can rate or review the podcast on whatever platform you like to listen to us, and share it with a friend or two. If you want to know more about who we are and what we're doing, head on over to theunbridledlifepodcast.com and learn more.